Welcome to the Rewilded Human podcast, where Dr. Lucille and Lynn will tackle your most difficult and intimate questions with candor, tough love, and a little dash of humor. In today's episode,
Ayurveda, which is life. How are you living your life in your body-mind type? How are you digesting and processing and experiencing life, food, emotions, your thoughts? And then how are you uniquely a mere reflection of this beautiful cosmic universe? I always want to see what's manifesting on the skin and what's manifesting in the hair. So for example, if you have a fire energy and there's a lot of pitta in you, sometimes with stress, all that fire goes up to the head, creating a lot of headaches, dryness in the eyes, a lot of tension in the head. And sometimes it burns the hair follicle. So there's a lot of hair loss.
Welcome, everybody, to the Rewilded Human podcast. I'm Dr. Lucille, and my beautiful co-host, Dr. Lynn, we're so excited today. So excited because we have a special guest. You are going to enjoy this so much. And our topic for today is Ayurveda for modern times and how to optimize your health, beauty, and longevity. And our special guest is Andrea Olivera. Now, Andrea Olivera is a real pioneer in the Canadian Ayurvedic community. She started out life as an esthetician. And over time, as she learned and studied more about Ayurveda, she incorporated Ayurveda, Jyotish, which is Vedic astrology, yoga, and Vedic sciences into her work with her clients. And this is like, I don't know of anybody else who does it quite the way she does. I first met her, I think it was maybe, I don't know, over 10 years ago. And like everything with Andrea, it was magical and very intuitive because I was reading a health and wellness magazine at the time. And suddenly I was riveted by an ad for Ayurvedic massage. And I knew virtually nothing about Ayurveda, but something inside of me said, this is for me. And I had my first massage with Andrea, and I thought, okay, I'm now spoiled for massages. I don't want any other massage than the one that Andrea does because she does it so intuitively. She is so aware of everything going on in her client. And I've never had a more rejuvenating, restful massage ever. Plus, I've had the most magical journeys in my imagination as she's working on me. She really helps to open up portals to different realms, I must say. Yes, so she is one of, and I don't know of anybody else, but one of Canada's leading Ayurvedic beauty and wellness specialists and educators. And I love this part. She's Toronto's Ayurveda rejuvenation therapist to the stars. And I love to consider myself a star.
You are a star, definitely.
Definitely. I love it.
And Andrea and her partner, Ali, are both co-owners of the Ayurveda Ritual Spa in Port Hope, Ontario, which is about an hour or two drive east of Toronto. And if you're anywhere in the vicinity, all I can say is go, because it is... I can't even describe the experience. But anyway, enough from me. I want to get Andrea on to tell her amazing story. So Andrea, first things first, for people who don't know what Ayurveda is, what would be your definition?
Well, thank you for that wonderful introduction. That was lovely. And it's a pleasure to work on you. And you are my star, that's for sure.
Wow.
And the journey of Ayurveda, Ayur means life and Veda means knowledge. So one of the things that, yes, it's India's holistic system of medicine. It's 5,000 years old. The Yellow Emperor of China is in competition with Chinese medicine, and Indian medicine have been in competition for many years. But the truth is that there is evidence of ancient recorded treasures in scriptures. And Ayurveda, which is life, how are you living your life in your body mind type? How are you digesting and processing and experiencing life, food, emotions, your thoughts? And then how are you uniquely a mere reflection of this beautiful cosmic universe? So Ayurveda incorporates so many ancient systems. So it's considered the sister science of yoga, which we're all very aware of. And it's also the sister science of Vedic astrology, known as Jyotisha. And Jyoti means the light of the planets that shine upon you at the time of your birth. So we all have this cosmic anatomy. And that's why Ayurvedic massage, called Abhyanga, means Abhi, which is like the special, and Angas, limbs, the head. And that's what became so popular, is the traditional Indian head massage, right? With the warm oil pouring on the third eye. Everybody wanted to have the drip of peace, right? And it was very popular. And what it does is that, yes, it opens what? The portals of what? Your consciousness.
Right.
So the consciousness, which we call the spinning wheels of energy, called the chakra system, it is the foundation behind a lot of the Ayurvedic philosophy and bodywork. But Ayurveda is about elemental wisdom. The more you know your body mind type, which is a combination of different elements, the more that you will relate to the elements in your environment, to the foods that produce and are produced by certain conditions and environments and the climates. It is all about relationship. So what is Ayurveda? Is how are you relating to your environment, to your food, to your own body mind type, your consciousness? How are you relating in your relationships? And that's why a very popular technology that we have in Indian astrology or Vedic astrology, Jyotisha, is compatibility. Because we always want to know, are we compatible in terms of all of our relationships? So this elemental dance that we do with each other is very important to analyze and study and co-create, in a way, our pathology of how to intertwine with people. So Ayurveda offers this ancient knowledge through the practice of yoga. Yoga is a prescription that we give. Once you know your mind-body type, there are specific asanas or postures that you should do for your body-mind type to balance it. So yoga is like the Vedic psychologist that helps us to understand our mind. Ayurveda teaches us about our body and what is the predominant element that we're born with, and what is what we call the dosha, which is the mistake or the flaw, the waste product that your body produces too much of, that you need to keep in balance. So when people say, I'm a vata dosha, or they're really saying my waste product that my body produces when I'm in too much stress or too much chaos in my life, or I can't digest this world, is gas. And so you're really saying I'm a big fart, right?
That's
And
funny.
when it's true. People, the West, we always want to identify with something. We want to be categorized. So when you're pitta is like, oh, I'm not pitta. Pitta is a combination of fire and water. But when the waste product, when you produce too much fire in your body, you're producing bile or acid.
Yeah.
So when you're saying you're a pitta, it means that your excess fire is producing too much internal heat, causing acidity and acid. And when you say I'm kapha, you're really saying that my water and earth element is creating a lot of mud in my body. So the waste product is mucus or phlegm. So you're really saying I'm a big snot when you say I'm a kapha. Right? So you don't want to identify with the waste product, but we tend to do that. Right?
Andrea, how can one know which type they are? Because there are 4 different types. How do you know which one you fall under?
Well, there's there's 5 elements, and we
5
all
elements.
have
Okay.
5 elements in our body.
Mhm.
So we are Akash, or ether, which is the electromagnetic energy around our body and inside our body, which is the space.
Mhm.
And this is where cellular memory is stored. And so Ayurvedic healing works on stored emotions, past traumas, and because we believe in reincarnation, there is a story of the soul that's recorded and embedded in the Akash. That's why people can read Akashic records,
Mhm.
right? Because it's the story of that. And then we have air, and air is responsible for moving things out of our body, like feces and water and stress and waste products like sweat and menstrual blood. So water is always moved by wind,
Mhm.
and thoughts are windy, and emotions are turbulent hurricanes. So the thinking and the movement of prana and energy is considered that vayu, that wind. And then we have the element of fire, which is all to do with processing, metabolizing, transforming, and transmuting, and assimilating and distributing the nutrients in our body. And it's also considered our life force, passion. The spirit is considered fire. And water, we're 80% water, aquatic beings. So we are this emotional, sexual, beautiful, creative experience of a mere reflection of divinity, a human. So we are, this 80% water. And earth is our bones, our muscles, our tissues, everything that is material. So when you're born with 1 or 2 predominant. And it's very important to take a journey. Look at all your baby pictures up until the age of puberty and see what's been the same. And that's what you were born with, a material constitution called Prakriti, which is the organization of those 5 great elements that give you your body type.
What would you be looking for on these photos?
You're looking for like weight changes. You're looking for what has been the predominant characteristic. What's the predominant emotion? Like, how do you respond naturally to stress? Are you a fighter? Are you, I'm out of here, take off? Do you hide? Do you, like, what is the natural response? Skin tone, hair tone. So when you see what's changed, that is now the dosha, the flaw, the excess waste product that your body's producing. But the things that have stayed the same, such as your bone structure, the shape of your face, the shape of your eyes, right? There's many things we can change and alter in our body nowadays. So you got to go back to the original you. Love and acceptance is part of the philosophy of Ayurveda. So you analyze that. And then we always analyze the body type through pulse. And there are, like, I have a quiz on my website, find out your dosha. You can begin there. But a lot of times you could do 5 or 6 different quizzes, and they may all come different. If that's true, it means the element of air is very high in your body.
Interesting. And can you tell someone's element just by looking at them?
You can, we have something in Ayurveda called the process of observation. So we can see categories. So if you're Vata, Vata meaning windy, and that means a combination of 2 elements, ether or space, Akash, and air, your bones are going to be tiny. But they could be very long bones or very short bones. You're going to have crispy, crunchy, kinky, straw-like, dry hair. Your skin's going to be dry. You're going to have a thicker pigment, so you're going to tan easy, and darker skin, darker pigment, tiny eyes, tiny nose, tiny mouth, tiny, 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 but could be very long and tiny, and very not well proportioned. So crooked teeth, crooked, like maybe your torso is longer than your legs, or your legs are longer, one arm's longer. So a lot of disproportion. Very variable and changeable is the Vata body type. I always like to think of Vata people personality-wise like little birds. And if you are, some Vatas are very long birds, and some are very short. But because Vata people tend to talk fast, move fast, change their minds, it's like a bird that goes from one branch to the other branch, chirpy, 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 talking, talking, talking. So those personality types are wonderful communicators, wonderful creative artists, and they love social media,
Uh-huh.
and they are always changing. They are the trend setters. Style is like their magic.
Wow.
They love to express themselves with different types of outfits and hair colors, hair changes. So there's never consistency in the Vata body type.
That's very cool. So Andrea, when somebody comes to you for a consultation or a massage, where would you start? Would this be the first step to determine their element and then go from there?
Yes. So what I always do is I always invite them to take the dosha quiz on my website, as well as the chakra awareness assessment, because I want to see where they're feeling, what's their predominant emotion.
Yeah.
And because, I have an organic natural skincare line and natural scents and perfumes, I always want to see what's manifesting on the skin and what's manifesting in the hair. So, for example, if you have a fire energy and there's a lot of pitta in you, sometimes with stress, all that fire goes up to the head, creating a lot of headaches, dryness in the eyes, a lot of tension in the head. And sometimes it burns the hair follicle. So there's a lot of hair loss.
I've had that.
Right?
Yeah.
So it happens to us women during hormones, changing seasons. We always have that. But if it starts to increase and there is a lot of hair loss, I want to address the concern and the present condition that the person has. And then I customize the oils, the herbs, the scents, the food, because a lot of people stay here and I cook for them the Ayurvedic meals and other meals as well, because not everybody likes the flavor of Indian food, right? So Ayurveda does not just belong to India. This is like my background, right? Which is I was raised by these 5 Latin women, because I'm from Uruguay, South America.
Oh,
and
nice.
they all practiced elemental wisdom. And so they kind of always taught me from a very young age that, when the weather is dry, you use these types of herbs and foods and flowers, versus when the weather is damp, you need certain spices. And so Ayurveda has the wisdom of the elements and the seasons. And we also have seasons in our consciousness, don't we? And sometimes as women, because we're ruled by the moon, we're always changing, and the moon changes every 2.5 days. So we're always changing that, right? So, for example, today, I don't know how you guys have been feeling, but lately, everybody's expressing different needs, right, in their lives for creativity. But today is about learning, because the moon is in Virgo for us in the Eastern system. And so when the moon's in Virgo, it's ruled by Mercury. So for 2.5 days, if you look back a day and a half ago, watch how you have been responding to communications, your technology. Have you been wanting to learn something new? So that's the third sister of Ayurveda. So in my consultation, I always look at the time of birth, date of birth, place of birth. What is the predominant emotion that you're feeling? What's happening in your hair? What's happening in your skin? Where are you holding your tightness and your tension in your body? And is there any medical conditions that are presently happening with you that we need to work and address? And then the massage is customized. So it's depending on all those details.
That's very exciting. I know Lucille enjoys them a lot, right, Lucille?
Oh, I absolutely love them. And it is just, it totally transports you into another realm where you really feel like you're more yourself. Hard to explain. It's like you're more yourself. You've just walked out of your busy, crazy world and into the world that you were meant to be in. It's just totally beyond magical. And just speaking of magical, you touched on it, Andrea, the way that you were raised was truly magical. Can you tell us a little bit more about how you were raised among your curanderas, your maternal lineage? My goodness, this is an amazing story. Can you tell us how did they groom you to become who you are now?
Well, I feel very blessed. When my mom was 15 years old, because we celebrate sweet 15, right? Quinceañeras instead of
Quinceañeras.
sweet 16, right?
Yes.
So when my mom was 15, my great grandmother gave her a gift of this gold medal that had Saint George slaying the dragon. And she predicted, she says, Amelia, my mother, who reads tarot today, she's still around doing all that. She says, Amelia, your firstborn is going to be a daughter, and she is going to be the priestess of the family. And we're going to have to start the initiations when you get pregnant. And my mom was like 15. She's not thinking about babies and things like that. So 4 years later, I'm born, and they start. And so they're natural astrologers. And so what they did was they took my time of birth, date of birth, place of birth, and they followed what is my cosmic anatomy. And they all knew, the 5 women who raised me and my father and his brothers, but mostly the 5 women nurtured me into the traditions, basically started to train me at the age of 12. So my mother started bringing metaphysical reverends and parapsychologists, Reiki masters, all these kinds of teachers, massage therapists, like everything you can think of. And I would have the treatments, the reflexologists and the iridologist, the homeopathic, and my father would take me to Chinatown to experience Chinese medicine. And so between everybody, I started to follow an interest in holistic medicine and the healing metaphysical arts. And so by the time I was 13, I was already a Reiki master. I would have crystals all over and studied them. I built a pyramid and I slept under a pyramid like they did in Egypt. And I was very fascinated by Egyptology. And, you know, we're Latin South America. So a lot of us has a lot of influence of the African Yoruba traditions. And a lot of them worship the different elements, but the spirit of the element, either as a god or a goddess. So as a very young child, I always understood that the rivers, the sweet waters, were always ruled by this beautiful goddess that brought fertility and prosperity and beauty to the world. And so there was a lot of goddess worship. You know, the ocean is the mother energy of the divine mother. And so we would use our cleansing rituals by the ocean. So every element had a face of divinity and a personality of a god or a goddess. So as a very young girl, I always knew that every star had a deity, and every element is an aspect of divinity that had a personality, and that we humans were a mere reflection of that face of divinity. Now, of course, my dad saw these 5 crazy women, and he ran into the lap of Christianity and to take shelter, because women are very powerful when they know magic or when they know spirituality and when they work with elemental wisdom. And so that it always scares people, and it's always categorized as negative, but it's wisdom, and it's earth wisdom, and we are wise earth women. And the more we know, and there's a natural intuition with women, we want to domesticate our creatures, our animals, and nurture. So when we are made of the mere reflection image of Mother Divine, you have to know her language and how that works. And so I was very lucky that these 5 women knew part of that language and taught that to me at a very young age. And that's why I was so attracted to Ayurveda, because I tried Chinese medicine. I studied Chinese medicine. I studied shiatsu, but there was something magical about Ayurveda because of the worship of the elemental wisdom, the divinity, and there was something that really felt familiar and felt like home to me.
It's such a fascinating journey. I don't know how many other people can say they've had that kind of journey in their lives. It's been amazing just to listen to it. when somebody is getting curious about Ayurveda, what would you tell them in terms of how can they start learning about it in the easiest way possible? Because Ayurveda, in my experience, it's fabulous, and I love the holistic aspect and all, how you have to integrate every part of your life. You learn about everything that you need to know to balance your life, but there's so much knowledge that we're not maybe used to in the Western world. So what would you say would be the easiest way for people to start dipping their toes into it and learning more about Ayurveda?
The first thing I always recommend is we're curious about ourselves. So the first step would be do as many dosha tests as you can on different websites and online, because that will start to teach you what to look for in those pictures, Lynn, that I mentioned. Because you don't know what you're looking for, but you want to look at, okay, if I'm checking off bone structure, and I know that Vata has very tiny bones, but Pitta has medium-shaped bones, and Kapha has large bones, what has been my consistent bone structure? So the more that you do these online exams or quizzes, you will be able to start seeing the patterns. And then you can start to analyze your own patterns. And then I would recommend, wherever you are, whatever country you're in, investigate who's practicing Ayurveda. And because, as you know, everything is about relationship, you need to see if you connect with that healer, with that therapist. So if they're offering a 30-minute, introduction call, take them up on it. See, is that your healer? Is that your doctor? Is that for you? Is that person resonating with you? And then from there, you can have a proper assessment, and they'll do a pulse diagnosis. They'll do a tongue assessment. They'll look at your eyes, your nails, your skin, your blood work, all that, and make sure that you are not consulting an Ayurveda practitioner, but that you are looking for a Vaidya, V-A-I-D-Y-A. V-A-I-D-Y-A means a doctor of Ayurveda, an MD. And in India, you go for 8 years of medical school and then another 4 years of specialization. So you want to make sure that they are Vaidya, because that makes a big difference. I'm an Ayurveda practitioner and a Vedic astrologer, Jyotishi, but I'm not a doctor, MD, but I specialize in what we call Purva Karma, which means a preparation for Pancha. Pancha means 5, and Karma means therapies, detoxification therapies. So I prepare a person for the purgation therapies or for the herbal prescriptions and treatments that the Vaidya gives. And I have a specialty, which is Ayurveda rejuvenation therapy. And that's why the stars, the celebrities who really helped to bring an awareness of Ayurveda to the West, because it was all these celebrities that are always looking for anti-aging, anti-stress, beautification, restoration, how to make themselves beautiful, came across what we call Ayurveda is the science of longevity. So it's about preservation, right? It's about accepting like, okay, this is my hair and this is my color and this is my skin and this is my shape and this is my energy and this is my body, right? Look, I'm a kaphagenic woman, large water and earth. I could never be a tiny, skinny little, Calvin Klein model. And so you have to learn to accept the element that you are an expression of. So the stars started to take yoga and these ancient healing systems and applying them. And that's why they would Google me and they would find me in Toronto for the film festival and things like that. And they would come to me. That's why I got pretty popular, because I did a lot of treatments for them and they endorsed my skincare line and all that. But, you got to find the connection with the person that you want to take you through this elemental dance together and journey together.
So this is amazing. This is really probably the most holistic approach to healthcare I've ever run across. And, one of my reasons for getting involved in taking on the Ayurvedic lifestyle was that, I I was always a root cause kind of person. If something went wrong, I wanted to know the root causes, and I wanted to balance. I wanted to get to a place of balance and stimulate my own body to heal. And I realized it was, multifactorial, right? Physical, emotional, spiritual. And there was nothing in the medical mainstream model that offered that. Even when I'd go to, naturopaths and, other healthcare practitioners who are more supposedly holistic, I didn't find it all that holistic. I found it still as kind of a better version of symptom chasing. But it wasn't until, I learned about Ayurveda that I thought, this makes sense, because this is truly holistic. It takes everything into account. And you are immersed in a lifestyle. It's not just about, well, you take this supplement, or you do fasting on these days, or you just practice certain things on certain days or whatever, and the rest of the time you're doing whatever you want to. It's like it is embraces everything in your life. And that to me was made the most sense in terms of healing and wellness. Do you find, I'm curious about this for you, Andrea, as a practitioner, do you find that a lot of people embrace it as a holistic lifestyle, or they kind of come to you and they want to take a little piece here and maybe a little piece there and just do it kind of piecemeal?
That's good. And the more that you do piecemeals of anything, you find what works for you. And I think that like not everybody enjoys Ayurveda. Some of them don't like the taste of those herbs and the foods or the spices or the smells. And that's why, I had to be very careful when I was creating my skincare line not to use the spices that make you smell like a curry goat when you put your skincare on, and I love that in terms of healing and treatments. But like when I remember representing this into the beauty industry, because I taught hundreds of spas across Canada how to integrate this ancient system of holistic medicine, but through the beauty industry. And I presented the oils and that, and a lot of estheticians are Eastern European. They're used to beautiful flowers and not spices. And so not everyone's going to resonate. And as you know, that sometimes a doctor will give you a diet, but that your body can't have milk or herbs that, stimulate too much, or dairy, or, so Ayurveda is not for everybody. And you have to take bits and pieces that work for you. And so when clients or people come, my guests come, they know that I focus on emotional release work, helping them to understand their cosmic anatomy and understand their, it's like the karmic map. That's how I look at the astrology part. It's like I'm suffering and I'm going through this emotional situation, and what are the rituals, Andrea, that you could prescribe for me to get me out? How can I understand my relationship with my daughter, my brother, my sister, my husband, my wife, my girlfriend better? How can I practice the science of self-realization? Who am I? What's my purpose? So when people are going through things, it manifests in the physical body. And so a lot of people need Ayurveda's magic of being able to detox the mind from stress and the body from the toxins from that stress. And then how to rejuvenate and preserve your life force energy. So everybody that's on a journey needs something. And that's the beauty of this system. I look at it as an art of customization. You have to customize the experience. And that's why it's not a cookie cutter. And, there's many books on Ayurveda, and they'll tell you what to eat for your body type, what to do for your body type. And it may not work for you because there may not be the specialization in the process of observation to really take into an analysis of what you're actually going through in your mind, in the predominant emotion, and how is your genetics, and how what's your environment, and how are you really going to process and digest that prescription? And that's why it's important that if Ayurveda is about relationships and how are you relating, it's also about digestion. How are you digesting your relationships? How are you digesting your thoughts, the food that you're eating, your environment, the energy? And that's why this all is so similar to me about magic, because in my family, with 5 women that were practicing metaphysical sciences and healing, if you had a headache, it was a whole ritual. You know, as a child, you begged for that Tylenol or that painkiller, but they would take out their magic wands of crystals and their flowers and their sprays and smoke your aura and bring in a chicken once in a while if they needed to really do an exorcism on you because you were hanging around with the wrong crowd or the wrong people and you picked up something and your aura is full of barnacles. There was ritual in every aspect, and that's why I was so attracted to the Vedic culture, because of the ritual. And so even the way that the herbs were preyed upon before you take them. And in India, Ayurveda is practiced by all different religious groups in India. So there is the Islamic doctors that practice Ayurveda, and they don't have these gods and goddesses. They work in a different way, such as South Indians that have a lot of the Christian backgrounds, and then the Hindus and the Buddhists. So Ayurveda is practiced with different aspects of, spiritual rituals. And it depends on your lineage and that. But yeah, I mean, I could keep talking about this for a long time. It's my favorite topic. I can't stop talking. I'm very excited about it, but I really believe it's a personal journey, and that it's like remember in the old days, you used to take a vision quest or a journey, like a trip on the Silk Road or the Afghan Trail, and you would finding something. You're on this search. And some people are in search for optimum health. And Ayurveda, I believe, has the most amazing cures from a medical perspective. And that is where you want to find the right doctor of Ayurveda medicine that has experience in that illness, and that they specialize in that illness, and then of course find the right medical care when you're dealing with disease. Then there's the psychology part of Ayurveda, and then there's the spiritual part. So it all depends on what a person's crisis is. And that's why we always take a look at the Vedic chart to see what is the influences of the planets. Number one, what was the light of the spectrum, the light that shone upon you at the time of your birth, and what makes up your strengths and weaknesses of consciousness and your predisposition for certain illnesses, because a chart will tell us that, and they'll tell us how long the illness will last and when it will be cured, because we believe in karma. So there's everything set up on a time management in this universe that says, well, you're going to suffer with that eczema for 6 years, but all of a sudden you'll be sitting under a banana tree and some magic sadhu walking around in barefoot chanting will come up to you and says, grab that leaf from that tree, put it on, and then come back 3 days in a row, buy me a chai. This has happened to my teacher. He suffered with eczema for 6 years, and on the 7th year, after a certain planetary period had shifted, he sat in desperate, hopelessness, saying, I've traveled all over India looking for this cure. No one's been able to heal me. And then magically there was a sadhu, I guess a renunciant, like a medicine, sort of like a medicant, a person that is spiritual, and they're homeless, but they walk around chanting and praying, and they're spiritual. And he sat down and says, buy me a chai. So my teacher, you never say no when they ask for donations, because they can easily curse you as well as heal you sometimes, these holy men. And so he buys him a chai, and he says, "You're sitting under this magic tree. What's your problem? Why are you suffering?" And he tells him about his journey to go from doctor to doctor trying to heal that eczema. So he says, "I'll give you the magic. Take a leaf, put it on top of your skin. Meet me here tomorrow. Buy me another chai." So he, at this time, tried everything. So he came the next day at the same time, bought the guy a chai, put the leaf on, sent him home. He did that for 3 days in a row. By the third day, the eczema was fully gone from his whole body. And why? Because time, space, causality created an opportunity for the change to occur, but it would not have happened during the beginning of that planetary transit. It had to happen at the end. And because my teacher, Vedic astrologer, to many Western Vedic astrologers, he knew, his name is Mantraji, he knew that was going to happen and that he should listen. And sometimes we miss the opportunities. You meet someone that could offer you an insight or a direction, or perhaps advice, or even prescribe something, or even refer you to something, and you're not aware, you're not open, you're not listening. And so it's really about being aware of what's the transits of your planets right now, and what is the universe offering you as an opportunity for change, for healing, for transformation and transmigration into your greatest higher self. And Ayurveda sometimes comes right at the right time for the right person.
Yeah, I certainly felt that way for sure. Absolutely came into my life at the right time. Yeah.
Andrea, I wanted to ask you, like, how does Vedic astrology compare to like Western astrology? Is there a difference? And is every
Yes.
practitioner trained in astrology as well? Every Ayurvedic practitioner, they all have a knowledge of astrology?
Yeah, not necessarily. Most Ayurveda doctors or therapists usually understand yoga is the prescription, and Vedic astrology is part of it.
Mhm.
But in India, there is, it's like medical school for Ayurveda, and then there's areas of specialization. And so yoga would be a specialization, Vedic astrology would be a specialization, and so forth and so on. So not everyone will practice Jyotisha with Ayurveda and yoga. But they are three sister sciences that really come together in the three in the great books called the Vedas. Veda means knowledge, so these are the scriptures that contain, from magical practices to chants and mantras, to the magic that is offered, but also the medicine that's offered. And so those that follow more of a Sanatana Dharma, or sort of a spiritual approach, will gravitate towards these practices, but not everybody. And Vedic astrology, we follow the stars, so we're considered sidereal. So when you're born, there's this truth about being born under a lucky star, and that's what we follow. We want to know what your lucky star is, because that holds your superpower. And it makes such a difference when you understand yourself, because we know that if you're a Scorpio, there's thousands of versions of Scorpios. And if you're Aquarius, there's many. But what makes it unique, the personality or the experience of being in that zodiac sign, is the star that you're under. And that gives us a big flavor and the mysticism behind your character and your power of expressing what that Shakti, the energy, that how you're going to perform and live this world. So we want to know where the moon is in your chart, because that's going to tell us what kind of mind you have. What's the emotional tendency of your mind? And then we want to know where the sun is, which represents your soul purpose. And this is what yoga is, hatha, right? Sun and moon balances, right and left hemispheres of the brain. Everything is a polarity.
And also for relationships, you look at the charts, right? Because in India, it's very common to go see an astrologer or an astrologist before people would get married, to see their charts to make sure there's compatibility, right?
Absolutely. And in ancient times, when the mother was pregnant, the astrologer would be there through all the stages of her pregnancy. And when the baby came out, the astrologer was there writing down the time it came out. And then when the baby was 1 year old, the astrologer would hold a ceremony where he would chant out the birth chart. So all the family members would understand what this child's superpowers were, what the dharma, the destiny of the child was, and how to align this child towards their dharma, their true life purpose. But that is not practiced as much in modern India. And so now you've got a person that doesn't really know themselves, trying to marry someone that doesn't know themselves and wanting compatibility. And so there's a forgotten sort of importance in relationship, which is know thyself, heal thyself, know all the selves, meaning know others. And then you'll know how to dance nicely with another human being, right? So there's a big missing of that science of self-realization. Western astrology offers as well, because there's a lot of psychology in Western astrology, but they follow the tropical zodiac. We follow the stars, the sidereal.
Andrea, do you also, because we have a lot of listeners who are ladies in their 50s or over 50, and a lot of ladies are dealing with menopausal issues, perimenopause, menopause. Can Ayurvedic medicine help in this situation? Can you help with the symptoms, with hot flashes, with the weight gain of menopause? Are there ways to address this naturally through Ayurvedic medicine?
Oh, yes. See, Ayurveda has rituals for women, and the women, like the whole culture is based on women's health and the stages of the journey of being in a female body. So Ayurveda offers rituals before we start our menstruation, during menstruation, before we have babies, after babies, during the whole pregnancy, after the pregnancy, rituals for the baby, rituals for the next stage, right? Once we finish our maiden years, we start practicing things to prepare the body for a good, smooth menopause. And then right after menopause, the next stage of a woman's evolution of consciousness, there's another preparation. So Ayurveda is full of these rituals that involve self-care practices, different oils, different herbs, diet, everything. But you have to be properly diagnosed, because not one woman's menopause is going to be the same to another. It depends on the element. So if you have a lot of air in your body, you are going to be that woman that experiences a lot of pain in menopause and dryness and aging and emaciation, thinness. Whereas if you have a lot more water in your body, your menopause is going to be, that's when you gain a lot of weight and your emotions fluctuate and you get oily skin and breakouts. And so every body type is going to experience, if you're fire, you're going to lose your hair, you're going to be angry, you're going to transform, you're going to destroy everything and transform all your relationships and your career. And there's going to be a lot of power in the body type of pitta having menopause, and a lot of hair loss and different challenges. So it's so unique, and that's the beauty. Ayur means life, Veda means knowledge. Understanding who you are, know thyself, heal thyself. So yes, absolutely.
No, that's absolutely wonderful. I think that's going to help a lot of our listeners for sure. Andrea, if somebody wanted to get in touch with you, do you also offer consultations online? Can you help people online, or is it only in person? We do have a lot of listeners, I think, in Canada, right? So we will definitely link all your contact details and everything below. But what about someone on the other part of the world? Like for myself, for example, like if I wanted to do a consultation with you and find out which lucky star I was born under.
Absolutely.
I'm sure
So
there's
what
more than one lucky star for you.
I'm pretty sure, but I'd like to know.
Absolutely, absolutely, yes. And so what people can book a consultation over Zoom. I'll record it with them. We'll do this, having a conversation. I'll cast the chart. What a lot of people don't know is their time of birth. And so hospital records have it in some countries. They still record it in the archives department. Birth certificates, baby pictures, and if your parents are still alive, start asking them. Don't ask them a direct question. What time was I born? Ask them, tell me about, when you started having your contractions. Who took you to the hospital? Did our father have to leave work early? Because they remember the story of the day you were born. So the more details that you can collect about the time of day that you came into this world, then the timing can be specific. So within a 2-hour window, we need. But if you can get more details, like when they say, oh, it was after lunch, before lunch. So you've got to look at, well, what time is lunch in Italy or in Toronto?
It's true. I was born in Hungary. Lunch there is at noon.
What time is lunch in Africa? And so not everybody's lunchtime is noon.
Yeah, and
right?
in Spain, where I am right, well, I'm next to Spain, but in Spain it's like 4 p.m. People have lunch. So it's a big difference.
I know, it's a huge difference, right? And most hospitals have select times. So in any country, when you go to any hospitals, breakfast will be at a certain time, lunch at a certain time, and dinner at a certain time. So if the person had their baby in a hospital setting, then if you can call that hospital and see if your mother says, oh, you were born an hour or two before breakfast or after breakfast. So find out what that time was and then, start tweaking it. And sometimes it's not the mother that remembers, but the father or other relatives, because what do people do when they have a baby? They call everybody.
Yeah.
Right? And so we need that time of birth. And you need your date of birth, place of birth, and the time of birth. So you would email me and we would select a time, and then I will cast your chart for you, and we would talk about other things. And if there is any recommendations about healthcare, skincare, beauty care, rituals, my most popular thing is women always want a love ritual from me. It's something that I was born to do, to attract things. Some people, it won't happen if there's a contradiction in there. So we have to work through the love rituals. Other things is prosperity rituals or rituals to help them, relieve or release certain emotions. So a lot of times we in the Vedic astrology, the difference between Vedic astrology and Western is that we give these prescriptions. And sometimes it's like, feed pigeons for 16 Thursdays in a row, and it's got to be yellow seeds to get prosperity. It's very simple things, right? But, I mean, it just depends on what that person is looking for. One ritual that was very interesting, my teacher had given was to give one black grape to this woman that was in the hospital every day for 18 days. And if she makes it, and if she can live past those 18 days, then she'll come out of the hospital and everything will be okay. But if she passes within those 18 days, then there's nothing that can be done. So, but do it for 18 days with prayers and with intention. So there's been a lot of great healings that have happened and magical stories that when you do certain rituals with intention, it's not that something has power, it's that you're connecting with your source light, source love, and higher power, and you're helping that person connect. And, that is the magic that can happen through prana and intention.
I'm totally fascinated.
It's so fascinating. It's my whole lifestyle. I mean, I actually, converted. I moved into temples. I lived in temples across Canada and the United States and in India. I wanted to practice this. I would get up every day at 3:30 in the morning and wash our body and put different clays on the different portal points of the chakras and do these mantras and prayers and go and chant and bring all the beautiful flowers and prayers to the gods and goddesses at 4 a.m. and then do 2 hours of chanting and then study. So my whole morning for many years was this beautiful initiation into this mystical path and learning about these rituals and these beliefs and these stories, and there's magic that happens in storytelling.
Yeah.
And so much knowledge is carried from lineage to lineage. And I grew up with these beautiful 5 women that always told us stories, and they told us stories about me as a baby, as a child. And what does a child always love to hear? Stories about themselves.
Sure.
Tell me when I did this, tell me when I did that. And so when you have women around you or men too, that when you have children, you must tell them who they are. And in the ancient Egyptian way, the mother and father would write down every special thing, every part of that child's personality and character, and at special initiations would hand them this beautiful journal, so that if you ever felt lost in your life and you don't remember who you are and what you're here to do, you would read these stories of yourself and remind yourself of self. And so I look at, this science of self-realization that is available to us as almost like a personal development journey, where you're studying who you are and what is your greatest potential, and let go of those sabotaging thoughts of yourself that you're not worthy of love, not enough. And when I spent time with the Dalai Lama, he said humanity has 2 diseases. The first disease is comparison. We're always comparing ourselves to others. And then it breeds the second disease, which is self-hatred.
And I do have a final question for you before we wrap it up. I'm looking at the teeth behind you.
The
right?
what?
There's like teeth behind you. Oh no, it's not teeth. Okay, it's a little box. I've been looking at that. It looked like dentures, like teeth.
Oh,
And I
that's
wanted
so
to
funny. You know
on the
what?
other-
It's my
on the
wedding.
other
It's
on
this
the other
one?
side. No, on the other side of you. On the
The
other
other
side.
Oh,
On the other side. Right there.
Oh, yes,
That box.
by the that vase, yes, you've
Yes,
got your
it?
hands on.
Does it
Yes.
look like teeth?
Yeah, from here
that's
it
so
does. Yeah.
funny. Well, you know what's in here is rice, because I
Oh.
read rice. So in my Aboriginal shamanic tradition, I was born in Uruguay, and my uncles had rice plantations, and they would bring the women from the Yabunawa tribe in Brazil. And one of the ways of divination is that they would throw rice at each other, and the way that the rice fell, they would read it. And so as a very young kid, that's what we learned to do, is read rice.
Wow.
So that's my divination. Some people read tea leaves.
Yeah.
I read rice.
Okay,
And
so they're not teeth. Okay.
that's
And
funny.
one of the interesting things is, if you can get a Vedic reading from Andrea in person, she will give you the rice in your hand, and you have to, with intention, you have to hold it in your hand. And there's I think there's a saying that you chant and the person has to just dump them on their Vedic chart, right? And that gives you more information about their astrology chart, right?
Yes,
So,
it's the
and then,
electromagnetic energy around your body that the rice absorbs, and then it creates a picture. And I love doing groups, because when lots of women hold the rice and we throw it onto a platform and everybody's looking at the rice, all women are healers, and women are full of magic. We are we moon women. We are the moon. So that intuition in us, we can use anything, and learned to read, and in the process of observation be aware of what we pick up from people, and we have to train ourselves to see, you know, the manifestation of energy. We may not know we do it, but we all have that, and we just have to cultivate it more. So anything that you focus on, you can use as a vehicle into your own intuition, so that you can give a prediction or give an assessment or something that comes through.
Wonderful.
So when you do the live stuff with me, I can do that, but over Zoom, I will guide you into different ways of divining. This was wonderful, ladies. I'm so happy that you guys had me on here to share this. And I hope that, you know, I always consider myself an introducer. And if anybody listening that have any questions, feel free to email me and tell me what city you're in and country. And I know huge amounts of people in our Ayurveda community that maybe I can refer somebody in your area that can help you.
Wonderful. I mean, we would love to have you back in the future, because I think there are so many different topics we can still cover.
Oh my gosh.
Absolutely.
We can't thank you enough, Andrea, for all your time and your incredible wisdom and your beautiful stories.
And her energy. I'm just like, oh, you know, I'm like floating, just listening to you. It's incredible.
Thank you so much. Yes, thank you very much. It was such a pleasure. And just to connect with two beautiful, wise women that are giving such important wisdom to people and really bringing your amazing gifts and talents to the world. This is a great service. And, you know, I can't thank you enough. And also your audience must love you guys for always bringing such beautiful, you know, I guess, guidance and information. It's such a beautiful service that you guys are doing.
You are so kind. That is so nice. Thank you. Can make me cry. Thank you.
Don't stop. Give it, keep, even if it's, you know, I always, whenever I teach a class, even if one person shows up, I still teach the whole class, because it's about, who knows what the karma is between you and that soul. And so I don't know how many people are watching today, but my God, they have affinity with Lynn and with Dr. Lucille, and that it's all about congregation and coming together to share. Women, we need tribes.
Yeah.
We need tribes of sisterhood. And so thank you for inviting me into your sisterhood today.
Thank you so much, Andrea. We appreciate
our pleasure.
So much.
Thank you
so much. And we will definitely have you back next time.
Right.
All the best. Thank
Namaste.
you.
Thank you.
Namaste.
Please be aware that Lynn and I are here to provide insights, advice, stories that are for educational and entertainment purposes only. None of our content should be considered to be personal, medical, or mental health therapy. If you are experiencing a mental health or physical health challenge, please consult the appropriate healthcare specialist. We are here to provide the best possible content in an atmosphere of positive conversation and personal growth.